Well, I'm back in the woods again. Greetings from the Grand Mesa of Western Colorado. Now, something's been on my mind recently. Something that still surprises me to this day. It always surprises me. And that is just how fat so many people in this country are. How obese and giant so many humans are in the United States. And it surprises me because I live in Colorado, and Colorado has one of the lowest obesity rates in the country. There are not a whole lot of really fat people here. There are not a whole lot of obese people, people who are giant like this. There are not very many people like that out here. There are not very many super fat people. There are a few people who are a little chubby out here in Colorado, but most of Colorado's population is either sort of fat, sort of chubby, or they're like myself. Scrawny little stick figures walking around in the forest. Well, I don't know, I'm not that much of a stick figure, am I? But it still surprises me how huge people are, especially when I go visit family in other states, especially when I go visit family in Texas. I mean, now you want to see some giant people, go down to Texas. There's some huge people down there. Man, all that barbecue, I guess, does something to the gut, as well as all the good ice cream out there. There's some good ice cream in Texas, and there's some, and of course they got Buc-ee's. But you know what they say about Texas in general? Everything's bigger in Texas. Is that the phrase? Everything's bigger in Texas. In Texas, everything's big. I mean, that especially goes for the people, because there are people out there who are like 500 pounds. Not in muscle mass. 500 pounds like this. But here in Colorado, there's barely anybody like this. And why is that? Why is that? Well, for one thing, there's all the stuff to do outside here. It's much easier to engage in physical activity, especially out here in the forest, out here in the mountains. People go hiking like myself, or they go hunting, or they go skiing or snowboarding in the winter. Some people go out to some of the lakes here in Colorado and they go wakeboarding or paddle boarding, or some people go kayaking. Some people go rafting. There's a lot of different ways to stay active out here in these parts. But that's not the only reason why people in Colorado are nowhere near as fat on average compared to the rest of the country. It's not just that we have all of these mountains where we can stay active. There is a deeper reason why so many of us are so skinny. And that has to do with the sun, the sunlight. Specifically with the type of sunlight that we get out here in Colorado. The sunlight in Colorado is not like the sunlight in most of the rest of the country. The sunlight in Colorado is different because most of Colorado is high up in elevation. There are many towns here in Colorado that are at least 5,000 feet above sea level. My hometown is 6,500 feet above sea level. The part of Colorado that I just moved to, out in Montrose, out on the far western slope, far western Colorado, Montrose is 5,800 feet above sea level. Most of Colorado is above 5,000 feet, especially here in the mountains, in the mountainous part of Colorado. And that high elevation means the sunlight is stronger. We're closer to the sun. And because we're closer to the sun, that means we get more vitamin D from the sun. Get away from me, bugs. And one thing vitamin D does is it helps regulate fat. And a lot of people don't actually know this about vitamin D. A lot of people know that vitamin D helps with regulating your mood, improving your mood. It helps with reducing stress and cortisol. It has all these different health benefits. But one often overlooked health benefit of vitamin D is that it helps regulate fat. And we, the inhabitants of Colorado, We get a lot of vitamin D from the sun, from the strong sunlight at a high elevation out here. And it keeps us from getting so huge. Not many of us out here are all huge and blubbery. Nah. Because of the light. That beautiful light in the sky. It keeps us looking thin, nice and thin. That is precisely what makes the sunlight in Colorado different from how the sun shines in the south or in any part of the eastern half of the US or up in the northwest. It's that way somewhere. It's behind me. It's behind me now. I ain't going back there. But the sunlight out here is different because we are closer to it, living at such high elevations. And I'm not just talking about Colorado, but the sunlight is stronger throughout most of the southwestern fourth of the United States. Colorado, Utah, Arizona, California does not get the same strong sunlight though. Out there, most of California is closer to sea level. That's 1 for Colorado, that's 0 for California. But the sunlight is much different out here. It's not just that we get more vitamin D. That's great, staying in shape and staying nice and thin because of the increased amounts of vitamin D that we get. That's great. But also, because Colorado is higher up in elevation, the sun is stronger, but the air is not hotter. Down in the south and in the eastern half of the United States, the elevation is way lower. Oftentimes, when the elevation is way lower, the air is hotter and more humid. And the sunlight is nowhere near as strong. So in the south and in the eastern half of the USA, the sun is not as strong as up here. But it's hotter. The actual weather, the climate, the air outside is hotter. Here in Colorado, because of the high elevation, the air is not so hot, but the sun is stronger. That's another reason why summers are more pleasant here. It's not as hot. And you get strong sunlight with way more vitamin D. You get way more vitamin D out here than you do down in Florida. And Florida is known as the Sunshine State. And there's a lot of sunshine. You can still get adequate vitamin D in Florida, no doubt about that. But here in Colorado, you get even more. You spend an hour outside in the sunlight in Florida, you'll get some vitamin D. You could get sufficient amounts of vitamin D. Here in Colorado, you could spend 15 minutes in the sunlight and you get the same amount of vitamin D. And mind you, there's no such thing as getting too much vitamin D from the sun. Like when your body has gotten enough vitamin D from the sun, it'll stop absorbing. Your skin will stop absorbing it. You can't get too much from the sun, that is. It is possible to get too much vitamin D from the supplements in supplement form. But from the sun, once you get enough vitamin D, your skin stops absorbing it and you don't overdose on vitamin D from the sun. Now, getting too much sunlight is a totally other thing, because it is possible to get too much sunlight, especially here in Colorado. But even then, too much sunlight here in Colorado looks like being exposed to the sun for like 2 hours straight with no breaks. Of course, that's not good for you, but getting adequate sunlight is good for you. There are still people out there that try to convince you that this light in the sky is somehow bad for you. That sun exposure is bad for you. No, it is not. Sunlight gives you one of the most important nutrients your body needs, vitamin D, as well as the infrared light from the sun that you get in the morning and in the late afternoon. That is very good for you too. Infrared light and the vitamin D. And the vitamin D comes from the UV rays. UV rays and the infrared light from the sun, both are good for you. Excessive amounts of the UV rays, though, is not good for you, which we all know. But if you spend 20 minutes in the sun each day, if you spend 20 minutes getting UV ray exposure on your bare skin, you ain't gonna die. That's actually good for you. Now, if you spend 2 hours straight in the sun getting UV ray exposure, of course, That's not good for you. But getting exposure to the sun, just in and of itself, is not bad. It's one of the healthiest things you can do, especially if you live here in places like Colorado. I've been getting consistent sun exposure for my whole life. I've always enjoyed being outside, out here in these forests. I've worked outside. A job that I've had for a long time was working at an airport. And the result? Well, I ain't fat. Low body fat. Scrawny. Got a little bit of muscle. I'm not trying to be too show off and macho here. I'm just showing you the result of consistent sunlight at a high elevation combined with healthy eating. I'm wearing pants, don't worry. But here's the thing. I'm age 30 and I still have the same body that I did when I was 17. And it's thanks to that light in the sky, partially thanks to that light in the sky. And I stay active coming out here hiking, as well as working out in gyms a little bit and getting sufficient sunlight. And it produces low body fat. If you get sufficient sunlight, if you eat healthy, you stay active, and you get a lot of vitamin D from the sun, you don't get fat. I have not gained a pound of fat since I left high school. And high school was 11 years ago? 11 years ago. Again, partially thanks to that strong Colorado sunlight. Praise the sun. So in conclusion, getting enough sunlight is one of the best ways to stay in shape. Getting enough sunlight every day helps you stay skinny, fit, and healthy. The sun is your warm, warm friend. Long live the sun. Anyway, peace out.